Hello everyone, I'm Gonu. Today, among those various landmark Supreme Court decisions, we'll talk about the case Johnson versus Texas. The key issue of the case is that is it whether unconstitutional to prohibit burning an American flag? Before we jump into the Supreme Court decision, we should be aware of the background information of the case. The whole story starts as a social activist, Gregory Lee Johnson, participating into a Republican National Convention in Dallas, Texas, 1984. At the day, a huge protest broke adjacent to the convention center. The people were protesting against the Reagan administration. Since Johnson was a social activist, he also joined the protest. During the protest, he burned an American flag. There was no harm, but some citizens were offended by his action. Half an hour of the incident, Johnson ended up under arrestment according to the Texas Flag Desecration Act. So, what's the act? What's the law? In the United States, there are some venerated objects such as state flag, draft card, or American flag. And in Texas, it is outlawed to desecrate those holy objects with an intent to provoke offense or to insult the United States. Simply, in Texas, it is illegal to burn or damage American flag. Johnson was charged of violating this law. His first trial took place at Dallas County Court. The juries found Johnson guilty and sentenced him 1 year in prison and $2,000 fine. Johnson appealed immediately to the Intermediate Court of State of Texas. Well, unfortunately, the court had upheld the conviction. They said the state of Texas has a reasonable interest for protecting the American flag as a symbol of national unity. Poor Johnson appealed again. Finally, in the state's highest court had reversed the conviction. They found Johnson not guilty. The court finalized that the Texas flag desecration law itself isn't valid since it violated the First Amendment. The First Amendment is the huge law in the Constitution that protects the freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and freedom of expression. After the state's highest court made a decision, the Texas government was very upset about it, and they appealed the case to the Supreme Court of the United States. The Supreme Court of the United States upheld Johnson for 5 votes out of 9. So that was technically 5 versus 4. And this indicates that the case was actually very controversial among the justices too, since it was 5 versus 4. By the way, the court interpreted Johnson's act as a symbolic expression which is protected by the First Amendment. This judgment was based on the fact that Johnson burned the American flag during an anti-government protest. Since he burned the American flag for a political agenda, they found that Johnson had an intent to express his political opinion by a particular action. Johnson also asserted that he had no intent to provoke offense or to insult the United States by burning the American flag. Therefore, the Supreme Court of the United States finalized that burning an American flag is a form of symbolic expression which is protected by the First Amendment. Also, they ensured that though some citizens were offended by a particular expression, the government should be very, very cautious for depriving one's freedom or rights without compelling or clear reasons to do it. Thank you for listening. I appreciate it.